Cruise lines are quietly getting ready for some of the biggest changes we've seen in years for 2026. Some of them could genuinely upgrade your vacation, and others might hit your wallet in ways you're not expecting. If you love cruising or you're planning your very first trip, these shifts will absolutely affect how you book, budget, and enjoy your time at sea. In this video, we're breaking down what's really changing and what it means for regular cruisers like you. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and dive in with me as we explore what's coming. Record demand and industry growth in 2026. Cruises are hotter than ever. When you hear about changes coming to cruises in 2026, most people jump straight to prices, but there's a bigger story: demand. Cruising definitely isn't slowing down. After the post-pandemic rebound, bookings are climbing to record levels, and people who thought they'd try one cruise are coming back for more. Lines are reacting the only way they can, by adding capacity, keeping ships sailing year-round, and getting more creative with routes and offers. What does that mean for you as a cruiser? More choice, but also more competition for the best cabins and dates. Short 3- and 4-night itineraries are selling fast, and popular regions like the Caribbean and Mediterranean are filling up earlier. If you love cruising, 2026 isn't the year to wait until the last minute, especially once you hear how prices and extra fees are changing. New fees, extra charges, and tourist taxes. What will really cost you in 2026? Let's talk about the part nobody likes to hear about: the new ways cruise lines and destinations are going to hit your wallet in 2026. Onboard, the biggest shift is that a lot of things that used to feel included now come with a price tag. Norwegian Cruise Line, for example, is charging an extra $5 if you order a second entree in the main dining room on many sailings, and similar policies are popping up with MSC and Carnival. You can still eat plenty, but that habit of trying 3 main dishes just because is going to sting a bit more. Room service is changing too. Most major lines still include a basic continental breakfast, but Norwegian now charges a delivery fee and limits how much you can order in a single visit. Royal Caribbean is raising late-night kids club fees, which means date night on board gets more expensive if you have little ones. And Virgin Voyages, which built its brand on tips included, now breaks out gratuities as a separate daily charge, around $20 to $22 per person. Quick tip for you: when you're comparing cruises for 2026, don't just look at the fare on the screen. Take a second to ask yourself what used to be included on that line, and whether it's now a paid extra. 2 cruises that look the same price today can feel very different once you add drinks, tips, room service, and kids club hours. Then there are the taxes you don't really see until you look closely at the final bill. Starting January 1, 2026, Hawaii is adding a new cruise passenger tax of roughly 14% on the portion of your fare for days in port, which can add anywhere from $50 to $500 per person, depending on the itinerary. Mexico's non-resident tourism tax is going up. Greece is charging a seasonal cruise visitor fee. Amsterdam has a higher day tax, and even the U.S. Virgin Islands is nudging port fees up a few dollars. None of these changes mean cruises stop being a good value, but they do mean you have to budget smarter and really read the fine print. And as cruise lines charge more per passenger, they're also trying to win you back with something else big and shiny: new mega ships and fleet expansion, floating cities built for 2026. If cruise lines are charging you more, they know they have to wow you more too, and that's exactly what the new mega ships in 2026 are built to do. Think of them less like ships and more like floating cities. Royal Caribbean's new Legend of the Seas, the 3rd ship in the Icon class, is scheduled to arrive in 2026 with around 5,600 passengers and a ridiculous list of features. We're talking a giant water park, a surfside neighborhood just for families, and so many bars and restaurants that you could eat somewhere different every night and still not hit them all. Norwegian is rolling out Norwegian Luna, another Prima-class ship, a little larger and a little more upscale than her sisters. Expect wider pool decks, sleeker cabins, and that focus on modern design that makes the ship itself feel like part of the vacation, not just a place to sleep between ports. MSC's World Asia is in the pipeline as well, one of the largest and most energy-efficient ships they've ever built, starting in the Mediterranean and eventually shifting toward the Asian market when demand fully returns. Disney fans are getting their own headline moment with Disney Adventure, the company's biggest ship to date, and the first cruise ship powered by green methanol fuel. It'll homeport in Singapore, bringing Disney-style mega-ship cruising to a whole new region. At the same time, Carnival isn't launching a brand new ship in 2026, but it's reshuffling and upgrading its fleet around its new Celebration Key destination so more itineraries can plug into that private port. And if huge ships aren't your thing, don't worry. These mega projects tend to grab all the attention, but they also push older, smaller ships into more interesting routes and sometimes better pricing. One of the quiet side effects of 2026 is that you may have more options at both ends of the spectrum, from record-breaking giants to classic mid-sized ships with a calmer vibe. So as you hear about all those extra fees, remember that 2026 is also the year of bigger, flashier hardware. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's a group of much smaller ships changing just as dramatically. Ultra-luxury cruising reinvented, yacht-style ships for a new kind of 2026. While the mega ships grab the headlines, 2026 is also a huge turning point for ultra-luxury cruising. If you've ever looked at a ship and thought, I wish this felt more like a high-end hotel than a floating mall, this is your year. Four Seasons is launching its very first yacht, a tiny 190-guest ship where every cabin is a suite, and the vibe is pure 5-star resort. You get a massive funnel suite, a marina at the back for easy water access, and service that feels like a flagship hotel that just happens to move. Then there's the new Orient Express Seas, a glamorous, sail-assisted yacht designed to feel like the famous train reinvented for the sea. Add that to the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection expanding its fleet, Amman working on its own super yacht project, and suddenly you have a whole new layer of cruising where every detail, from the sheets to the champagne list, is dialed up. Traditional luxury lines aren't sitting still either. Regent Seven Seas is rolling out Seven Seas Prestige with one of the highest space per guest ratios at sea, which basically means bigger suites and more elbow room in every lounge. Explora Journeys has Explora 3 coming, powered by cleaner LNG fuel, and Crystal is back with serious partnerships like Nobu's only restaurant at sea and a Casino de Monte Carlo branded casino. Another big shift is how these trips are structured. Instead of only long, once-in-a-lifetime world cruises, more luxury brands are offering 5 to 7 night itineraries, so you can taste that level of service without disappearing for a month. Stays in port are getting longer, excursions are more immersive, and the whole product is moving closer to private yacht with staff than traditional cruise. You might not book one of these trips every year, but even doing it once in 2026 could completely change how you think about cruising. And if that sounds appealing, just wait until you see what's happening on the expedition side of things. Expedition cruising in remote destinations, beyond the edge in 2026. If you think cruising is all about pool decks and umbrella drinks, expedition cruising in 2026 is here to prove you wrong. This side of the industry is exploding in popularity, and it's one of the biggest changes coming to cruising in the next couple of years. Instead of just the classic Arctic and Antarctica routes, more small ships are heading to places like the Australian Kimberley, the Amazon, remote South Pacific islands, and wild stretches of the African coast. These are trips where you swap formal nights for rubber boots and Zodiac landings, and people absolutely love it. One of the hottest trends is the so-called pole-to-pole voyage. Picture this. You start your journey in the Arctic, follow the seasons and wildlife down the globe, and end in Antarctica on the same ship. These epic itineraries often run 70 to 90 days, and early versions for 2026 have sold out or gone to waitlist only. That's a huge signal to cruise lines that travelers don't just want a taste of expedition cruising, they want the full deep dive. By 2026, a whole wave of brand new or recently launched expedition ships will be in their prime. You'll see vessels like Seabourn Venture, Silver Endeavor, and Viking Octantis using submarines, science labs, and ice-rated hulls to get guests closer to the action, safely and in serious comfort. Silver Sea is even adding a high-end base camp hotel in Antarctica, so some guests can combine nights on board with nights on land in very cozy conditions. There's one catch: expedition regions are fragile. Antarctica, Svalbard, and the Galapagos already limit ship sizes and landings, and regulators are talking about tightening the rules even more. As demand climbs, that could mean higher prices, planning further in advance, and stricter rules about where and when ships can go. But if crossing the Drake Passage or exploring a truly wild coastline has ever been on your list, 2026 is shaping up to be a pretty incredible time to do it. And if that sounds a bit intense, let's swing back to something a lot more sunny. Private islands and new destination upgrades, paradise with fine print. Now let's talk about what happens off the ship, because in 2026, private islands are getting a serious glow-up. Every major line wants its own slice of paradise, and they're pouring money into turning those stops into full resort days. Norwegian Cruise Line is going all in at Great Stirrup Cay in the Bahamas. By summer 2026, you'll find a 6-acre water park called Great Tides, with 19 slides, a fast river, cliff-jumping platforms, a lagoon pool, sports areas, hammocks, and an adults-only vibe beach club you have to book in advance. It'll feel less like a quick island stop and more like a full-day beach resort. Carnival is doing something similar with Celebration Key on Grand Bahama. The new private-style port opened in 2025, but 2026 is when it really ramps up with more ships calling there and up to 2 million guests a year expected. Think long beaches, big pools, local bars, and a day built specifically for Carnival cruisers. Disney already has Castaway Cay, but now it's also using Disney Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point, a newer Bahamian stop that mixes beach time with local art, food, and a focus on sustainability. Royal Caribbean is taking a different route with its Royal Beach Clubs. These aren't islands. They're paid beach clubs near regular ports, starting with Paradise Island in Nassau, and then new clubs in Santorini and along the coast of Mexico. You'll pay a day rate that includes food and drinks, more like booking a resort pass than a classic included beach day. All of this means your beach day in 2026 might be bigger and more exciting, but it might also cost more or sell out before you sail. So yes, the included Caribbean stop is quietly turning into a premium experience on many itineraries. And while the islands are leveling up, life on board is changing just as fast. Evolving onboard experiences and passenger trends, life at sea is getting a makeover. Finally, let's look at what your actual days on board will feel like in 2026, because this is where a lot of quiet but important changes are happening. One of the biggest shifts is the push toward wellness and healthier living at sea. Cruise lines are adding sunrise yoga on deck, meditation spaces, longer spa menus, and even wellness-themed sailings. Menus are changing too. You'll see more plant-based dishes, fresh juice bars, and lighter options right alongside the classic steak and dessert. As younger travelers book more cruises, ships are slowly adapting to what that crowd expects. The traditional core of retirees is still there, but millennials and even Gen Z are showing up with different priorities. They want craft coffee, Instagram-friendly spaces, live music that feels more like a festival, and late-night venues that don't feel stuffy. Lines like Virgin Voyages have leaned into this and picked up awards for value in dining, and competitors are watching closely. At the same time, solo travelers finally get more attention, with dedicated solo cabins and lower supplements on many new ships, including luxury and expedition vessels. Technology is another big piece of the puzzle, and it's changing the day-to-day cruise experience more than most people realize. By 2026, fast Wi-Fi through systems like Starlink should be standard on most major ships, which makes it much easier to work remotely or stay connected while you sail. Cruise apps and wearables handle everything from boarding and opening your cabin to booking shows and finding your way around. Entertainment is also getting an upgrade, with more interactive game shows, high-tech productions that use drones and LED walls, and spaces like escape rooms or virtual reality pods. Put it all together, and cruising in 2026 feels less like a rigid old-school vacation and more like a floating resort that tries to match your lifestyle, whether you're a wellness fan, a digital nomad, or someone who just wants good food and an easy escape. That's our deep dive into the changes cruising is headed for in 2026. Some exciting, some not so much. By now you've probably noticed a pattern. 2026 isn't about one single huge change, it's about a lot of smaller shifts that add up. Pricing, ships, islands, even the kind of people you'll be sailing with. The more you understand those moving pieces, the easier it is to pick cruises that actually fit the way you like to travel. If you found this helpful, don't close the tab yet. There's a whole lineup of videos that'll make planning your next cruise a lot easier. Hit subscribe, watch another one, and stay ahead of everything the cruise lines are rolling out. See you in the next one, and here's hoping your 2026 sailings are smooth, sunny, and surprise-free.